The 2025 Trench Grenade Q&A session starts now. This is something that I've been meaning to do here on the Trench Grenade channel for a while now, and I want to make it a standard moving forward where at least once a year we sit down and have a more relaxed discussion directly with you, the audience, while I read your question and your name for the first time on the iPad of Truth and give you my feedback and be able to roll through question to question and hopefully be entertaining at the least and maybe educational for some if we get to your question. And I think it'll help out and give a good dialogue between myself and the audience. So thank you for posting your questions. If for some reason I don't get to your question today and you want a question and answer video part 2, all that you have to do is leave your questions in the comment section of this video and say Trench part 2 please, and leave your question, right? That way I can go through and either screenshot or do something with the iPad of Truth and actually be able to see your questions for a potential part 2 video. Make sure you hit the like button, do all the stuff. You got me post cardio and pre-leg day, so I'm pretty amped up here. I am enjoying a rain on the cut. We are down to 169 pounds. Doing a little bit of a mini cut before I get into a bulk here. So I'm extremely famished and hungry. The gun that is on duty is the Shadow Systems DR920L. It's like a Glock 34 with a Surefire X300 and a Holosun EPS green dot. And of course, we do have standard capacity HSTs that are on duty here, just for all the guys that are like, we didn't even see a gun in the video. Well, there is a 1-round airsoft gun for your viewing pleasure, okay? Let's get into the questions. I'm going to read your question or your name, your question, and we'll just roll through them. And it's going to be a good time. Again, hit the like button, leave your combat llamas, and more specifically, if you want a part 2, leave your question and make sure you say part 2. That way I just see like part 2 question, part 2 question. If there's enough, we'll say 20 or more of those down below, then we'll get into another one. All right, Skip Boyer, first question of the day. With the addition of a P365X macro, could it be considered for carrying and without rule of law or CCW? And of course, he leaves a bunch of emojis, but the most important one is a combat llama emoji. Yes, okay. Well, as long as it's in 9mm, I do think the P365XL or X macro, the slightly larger than the smallest version of the 365, are a good carry option. Again, as long as your gun is reliable and you like it and you shoot it well. That's a big factor there. You have to actually be able to put rounds on target reliably. I would say out of 15 rounds, you need to put all 15 in 10 seconds at 25 meters, okay? Similar to stuff we do here on the channel. But I would encourage you, Skip, consider this ecosystem right here, the Glock ecosystem. I did a video on the PCCs here recently on the channel, and it really cannot be understated, overstated, or I guess it could not be overstated enough how important having the Glock magazine ecosystem here in the United States actually is for a actual doomsday or SHTF style sort of system or situation, okay? And let me know, before we get on to the next question, thank you for the question, Skip. If you guys enjoy the Q&A style format, I can leave more posts up in the future, community polls of like, hey, Q&A time, if you want one. If there's like a ton of requests for some reason, we can do these more often. All right, moving on. Vinay Mather says, can you put the X macro comp through a torture? I'm assuming he means torture test. I'm trying to put a Sig Sauer P365 XL through one. I'm working on that right now. He says, want to see how much of a beating the thinner pistols can take compared to the duty grade pistols. I think we already know, but it'd be fun to watch them go through it. Yeah, right now I'm working on the XL. I believe that's the right one. It's either the 12 or 15 round one. I'm trying to get a hold of one of those brand new. That way I can test that here on the channel because I do want to know how it compares to a Glock 43 and a 43X. So Vinay Mather, thanks for the question, brother. I'm trying to look into the 6 hour P365 XL, and I'll see how that compares to the macro or the X macro and see which one is a better option, okay? Cheers, guys, if you're just hanging along for the ride, and let me know what you got rocking today for your gun that's on duty. And are you time thefting from your boss right now? Or if you're enjoying a meal, a succulent Chinese meal, let me know, because that is like one of the greatest honors you can give to any sort of content creator is eating a meal while enjoying their content. That's very base. Thank you so much. I am honored. Next question. Chupacabra says, M&P carry comp next for burn down. Brother, we're at the 3,000 round mark for the current burn down on the M&P, and it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm burning out on that gun, not because it's like a bad gun or anything, but because it's been so reliable and boring, and the trigger is kind of meh. It's like trying to convince myself to go out and instead of shooting like the Banshee for fun, the CMMG Banshee, or instead of testing like a different pistol or just having fun or just legitimately training, it's been already been a challenge to even convince myself to do that. But I will always say, if the interest is there and there's any sort of crowd support, because everything here is individually funded, I can't stress that enough. Any sort of burn downs that occur here are provided by me or any help we get from the audience, right? And we don't get that much from our YouTube overlords to actually support, contrary to popular belief. So for the M&P, any other M&P burn downs, if the interest is there from the community, right, and if there is not a sizable, any donations, or like the interest matches donations, or if there's no donations but a ton of interest, you get the deal, right? So that's kind of how I formulate this stuff. Is like, do the guys want it? Is there interest, and is there funding? No, there's no funding, but there's a ton of interest. Okay, maybe I'll pay out of my pocket all the way, like $2-3 grand to do it. Okay, if there's no interest from the community, but a couple guys want funding, I may just send that money back, or maybe I'll do it anyway. It doesn't matter, right? It's always not a gamble. It's always a decision-making process that I'm always going through, okay? Obligatory flagging, because one guy in the comments always hates it because he thinks for some reason that he's actually right there, but you're not right there, sir, okay? You're thousands of miles away probably, okay? Let's move on to the next question. MOS 4897 says, how do we put the outrage over the Glock V onto the people who vote for politicians who vote for tyranny in? Okay, what I would say is, and there's going to be, I think, I briefly saw, try not to read them before we get on camera, but there's going to be other questions about Glock V. What I would say is, focus on your slice of the pie first, okay? So your preparedness window right here, make sure you have the weapons you need for personal protection, home defense, without rule of law, SHGF, all of the things, training, duty use that is reliable, all the stuff, right? Then you can subtly, maybe you go to a birthday party or whatever, and somebody, because they know that you're the gun guy, they ask you, well, what are your thoughts on Glock right now? I'm going to go get a Glock V. That's your opening to be like, hey, are you tracking that they did all this horrible stuff with the California and Oklahoma stuff, and they stopped the sale of all their stuff to commercial? That's your opening for that stuff, right? So sometimes being more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Taking a softer approach, and just when they ask for it, you kind of take advantage, for lack of a better term. If they're asking for your advice, then give it. But if they're not asking for your advice, don't give it. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's just my 2 cents there. Don't go around trying to like spread the good word, right? I'm going to dry fire while we talk. Don't go around trying to spread the good word all the time about the Glock V stuff. Just if somebody asks you your opinion, then give it, right? Thanks for the question. Philip 324 says, if you had $1 million budget for one YouTube video, what video would you make? Oh my goodness. For some reason, like the MP7 comes to mind, but I'm not really that excited for something like that. $1 million budget. I don't know, because I would rather, for my style of videos, I would rather use that $1 million budget and just test every modern handgun and every modern rifle in a burn down style, where we go out, shoot 1,000 in the same style we always do, right? Up to 5,000, and then do like the debrief. That is more my style. It's more practical. So I guess if I had $1 million budget right now, $1 million dropped on the table, I would just keep making trench grenade content forever, probably with a little bit higher production, better cameras, better audio, even though we already have pretty good audio equipment, if I do say so myself. But I think if that was the case, $1 million dropped on the table right now, I would just continue doing the testing in the exact same way, just with better production, right? Slightly better production quality, and you would just see, instead of seeing like just the M&P going through testing, you would see tons and tons of different weapons going through testing at any given time, and it would be just non-stop, right? And we would just have all that 5.56 or 9 out there. But yeah, if I had more funding and more time, that is all we would do. We would just, my goal here is not necessarily to make the the highly edited intros and all that. I just want to give the truth of what I think based on my training and my experiences to my audience, and let them make their own educated decision off of that, right? So good question, Philip. Cheers, guys. We're going to keep scrolling through these questions. There's a bunch. Let's see. T. James 333. Also, would you consider testing less tested guns like the FN 509, Echelon, SIG, P211 GTO, the Beretta 92XL, SAO series, etc., etc.? Here's the thing, and I kind of already answered this, but I'll answer it again just because you asked, right? The way it works, it's got to meet the audience. A lot of guys need to want the video. Now, the Echelon and the 509, those two guns specifically, have been brought up, and the Walther PDP have been brought up so many times in the comments of my videos that it's gotten to the point where I'm like, oh my goodness, am I gonna have to actually test these things? And I think I might have to actually test them. But again, because I don't like to talk about money a ton, and when I do talk about it, everyone always freaks out. But here's the thing. When it's 5,000 rounds of gun and the gun itself, you guys get the deal, right? You guys aren't crazy. You guys understand what I'm saying, right? So when it's 5,000 rounds per, that cost adds up quick. I'm just showing you the green dot, mega based. I'll give you something to look at, right? But when it's 5,000 rounds per, and the gun itself, that interest has to be there. And if there's no interest or moderate interest, that is when I do the whole crowd donation thing, because that does help out. I've also opened it up for guys to send their own versions in, and I'll do the FFL and all the stuff to save costs there. But the interest level just has to be there. So yes, I would love to do more Beretta or Echelon or the FN 509 guns. I would love to burn them down. It's just, brother, I'm telling you, like, I got to weigh out, just like you do with your budget, I got to weigh out the risk to reward. And yeah, that's just what I'm doing. Thanks for the question, okay? 42 Bruner, what's in your go bag? Do you run just a general packing list, or do you change it for seasons and locations? Good question. I run the, again, no sponsors. Anything I say is just real. I run the Mystery Ranch. I believe it's a 48 or 72 hour bag, assault pack. A poncho liner, wet weather top, 2 extra pairs of wool socks, extra batteries, 2 Mountain House meals, the jet boil, peanut butter and tortillas, or some sort of high calorie thing, 2 extra pistol mags, 1 extra rifle, my actual kit. I think there's one thing I forgot. Oh, a fleece cap. And I think that's pretty much everything. Gloves, and it's pretty basic. Fire starter, to be light, maneuverable, but be able to survive, right? Very, very basic. You know, a flashlight, lighter in that fire starter kit. It's a very basic rundown of what I carry. Basically, it's all surrounded, and I say a rifle mag. Nowadays, I'm running all PCC stuff. Like literally, here's a couple Glock mags here to prove it. But lately, I've been shooting a ton of CMMG Banshee and a ton of just Glock and 9mm stuff. And so really, it's just going to be that assault pack with a few extra Glock magazines on top of my actual normal kit. Helmet, body armor, 6 mags on, 4 mags on the belt, sidearm, Banshee. I mean, dude, keep it light, right? Keep it light, keep it simple. Maybe 100 rounds, but that's about it. Extra, and just keep it light for a day patrol. But yeah, that's for like a day patrol. If I'm like, I guess you're asking my go bag. My go bag would just be add a sleep system, right? A summer sleep system with a bivvy to that. Add 200 rounds, add about 5 to 6 extra Mountain House meals, add more tortillas, more peanut butter, keep it light, add more socks, but it's very basic. The things you need as an infantryman are very basic to keep you sustained, because you're just trying to find the next place to sleep, next place to dig in, right? So I'm sure a headlamp, right? A headlamp, but I'm sure there's a couple things I forgot, but that's generally the gist, right? Keep it light, keep it simple, and keep moving. Moving on. Thanks for the question, 42 Bruner. Mark Ronian, 3720, says, do the Gen 3 barrels really have more velocity foot per second than Gen 5s? Also, there is a claim that Gen 5s heat up faster than Gen 3s after firing due to the barrels. I'm going to tell you that's a lot of FUD lore, sir. Even if any of that is true, even remotely, it doesn't matter. In my personal experience, I've shot Gen 3 clones, Gen 4 clones. I've shot Gen 5s. Name a number, dude. 70,000 or more rounds probably on the channel alone, and never once been like, ooh, the Gen 5s are less or more accurate. Just train, okay? Train. You're not gonna have any issues with any of that. I promise you. Just train, and you'll thank me later. You'll thank me, but yeah, I've never had anything about Gen 3 barrels having more velocity. Nothing, okay? So what I would say is just train, and you'll be happier that you just trained and focus on that. Good? Okay. Let's move on. Is 77 grain actually as good as people say? Oh, sorry. Will 6509 says, is 77 grain really as good as people say? Have you heard stories about people who got put in the dirt with it? Have you seen people get hit with the A1? I've seen people get hit with A1 round. Absolute wonderful bullet. I don't watch videos of people shooting blocks or translucent jello. Well, gel blocks are the best way to test from bullet to bullet. So if you're going to test, FMJ to hollow point to a different hollow point to M855 Alpha 1 to 77 OTM, blah, blah, blah. Testing a gel block is a good medium because it's exactly the same. If you get into like a meat target, Toby, come here. Come here, buddy. If you get into like a meat target or something like that, you're going to have inconsistencies between because you could hit something slightly different. So, but yes, the shorty guns, 77 is what you want. 77 grain OTM, okay? Come here, buddy. Hi. Shorter gun, 77 OTM is what you want. Longer gun, M855 Alpha 1, okay? Just to keep it super simple. Or to make it simpler, 14.5 and longer, you want some sort of 62 grain, very fast moving, accurate bullet. For the shorter guns, you want 77 OTM, okay? That's like the general rule of thumb. Thanks for the question, Will. Moving on, Simply Profundity. Simply Pro was what we'll call you, okay? Will you consider performing a burn down on the Springfield Echelon 4.5? Edit. Along with the torture test, I would like to see the relatively recent SIG and Glock vids you made. Oh, okay. You want to see a torture. Listen, if you want to send me one, like, stuff's expensive. I kind of beat that dead horse by now. But yeah, I'll consider it, Echelon 4.5. But what I would say is, same thing I've already said. Interest, funding, it's all got to be there, okay? If you're super invested in it, DM me on Instagram. We'll figure something out. Muzzle Rip 4518 says, what is the min round count for a handgun that you deem worthy without actually wearing it out? What is your favorite EDC multi-tool? Mine's not right here. It's in my assault bag. The Gerber, just a Leatherman, a Gerber. Throw it in my duffel bag every day. I carry a duffel bag. It's right here. I carry a duffel bag for work every day, and I just have a multi-tool. The most things I use out of there are the pliers or the just flat nose. It seems like a lot of things you can just fix with a flat nose standard screwdriver, right? So, but yeah. And he said, what is the minimum round count for a handgun to deem worthy? I mean, honestly, if I was on a budget, like really on a budget, if I bought 400 rounds and went out and shot my gun and knew my gun, 400, 500 rounds, and I really knew that my handgun was rocking. This gun has 12,000, I believe, on it. And this one had teething issues with light primer strikes in the first couple hundred. Does that make sense? So with this gun alone, after the first couple hundred, it kind of resolved itself and never had an issue since. So that actually articulates the point. You really do want to test. If you're going to put something to use and you want to really have a reliable system, you need to put some rounds behind it and make sure that that gun is working for you. Okay, so I would encourage you, the more is better. 400 to 500 minimum. Get it hot. Make sure it's accurate. Make sure your magazines that you're going to run in it are good. And make sure that you're satisfied with the performance before you just rush to a conclusion. Make sense? Okay, moving on. Thanks for the question. Moving on, Sam W. 5759. Is a built rifle or bought rifle better for a going to war rifle? Hey, what are we doing? What? Get over here. Come here. Hi. Listen, components list. You can have a, hi Jackie. Hi. Hi Toby. You gonna say hi? You can have a cheaper, okay, how do I want to word this? You guys all know like the Reddit build and all that nonsense, right? The arrow lowers and the BCM uppers. There is a lot of truth to that, okay? The component list. You can get a cheaper branded, as long as it's like an FN barrel or a BCM or Sons of Liberty upper, and get a cheaper lower, right? So like a mid-tier upper and a cheaper lower, and be good to go. You can get a freaking PSA lower, pistol lower or rifle lower, and put your more upper, mid to upper build, Daniel Defense or BCM or whatever on top, or FN. I like a lot, and there you go. You'll be good to go. Okay. So what I would say is don't get wrapped up around I need to either buy one by itself or assemble it. What I would generally recommend is you just find a lower that's a little bit cheaper but reliable. You name it, PSA with put a better trigger, Geisley, or just get a better trigger in it, and then get a BCM or a Daniel Defense upper, and you'll be thankful you did. Okay, so there's really no like one side or the other. It's just the component list is what matters. Sky says, how would you motivate gun-carrying law enforcement officers who only shoot during quals to actually try to improve and or just get out to the range more when they are mandated to? Good question, Sky. I don't know how to pronounce your entire name, so you know who you are, right? How you motivate? Okay, how do you motivate law enforcement officers or probably even soldiers that are just not motivated to get better? Make it their idea. Okay, anytime something gets brought up, make it their idea. Get that buy-in from them, or make it cool. Schedule a lunch for the group, or schedule a barbecue. But before the barbecue, you're all going to go out and train a standards-based training with their carry guns or their duty guns and their duty rifles. Make it a standards-based fun thing, and be supportive. Don't be condescending or negative. If there's a safety issue, obviously enforce that, but try to build them up, make it their idea, get that buy-in, and make it an event. Hey, we're all going to go out to a movie, or we're all going to do a barbecue, but before we do that, we are going to do the range day. We have to train as a group, as a squad, whatever, okay? So good question. He has a follow-up question. What is a combat llama emoji? Combat llama was the name of my platoon for like 12 cycles of trainees and drill sergeant candidates, and it was how I got buy-in from them, okay? It's how I got it's a us thing, not just a me versus you or me telling you what to do. I still told them what to do, but I showed them how to do it and did it to a higher standard, or to the standard in front of them, to get that buy-in. So that way I knew that they would charge a machine gun position armed only with a sharp spoon rather than their M4A1, as long as I was going with them or leading them to do it. It's a good thing, okay? That is where the combat llama thing comes from. That's why I'm always asking you guys to have that combat llama mentality. Ray Cole says, what to EDC now that Glock is a traitor? If you already own a Glock, carry the Glock. If you already own a Shadow Systems, carry the Shadow Systems, whatever. But just don't support them until or if they never, I guess, correct their ways. Just don't support, right? If they stopped making, federal HSTs or quality carry ammo tomorrow because they went woke all of a sudden, I'm not just going to not shoot the stuff and carry the stuff that I have. However, what I would say is just don't support them further. Find a better option, okay? So just because Glock is a traitor, right, and has done the things that they've done with bending the knee and all this stuff, doesn't mean you can't carry a Glock Gen 5. It just means probably don't get a V series, and probably consider going elsewhere in the future, right? Okay. Weebs must fry says the real Glock killer is Glock. True. They canceled themselves, right? Not really a question there. They canceled themselves and they did it to themselves. Hot Rod Heathens 5047 says, when are you applying for your civilian card or are you retiring from the Army? That is an excellent question. I'm at that point in my career where it makes more sense to stay in and be a lot more dangerous and risky to get out, right? Keep in mind, I don't represent the War Department of the United States Army in any way, and this is just my personal opinions. But what I would say is I'm at a point in my life where as much as I might want to get out, it's very risky to get out right now. YouTube doesn't pay enough to get out and just risk it all. If there was more Patreon, like I hate to do it this way, but if there was more support on Patreon, if there was more donations, whatever, more crowdfunding, it could be more of a reasonable discussion. But right now, unfortunately, we're not to that point yet. And I got to survive just like you got to survive. And that's just how it works, right? So right now, unfortunately, or whatever your thoughts are on it, the civilian card is not in the market yet. We're not to that point on the channel or for any sort of funding like that, okay? Thanks for the question, Hot Rod Heathens. Moving on, last question we're going to do. What is the most overlooked piece of kit most civilians should be carrying? Okay, so T James 333 says, what is the most overlooked piece of kit civilians should be carrying? I would say one of two things, okay? And I'll just answer the actual one. The most overlooked is one additional mag, okay? You don't need a ton. Minimum one additional reliable mag. In case you have a failure of that weapon system due to the magazine, you have that one extra ability to feed the weapon. Make sense? That would be the real answer. The second answer, the second answer would be batteries. If you're going to carry a dot, change them out every month or every other month, okay? Batteries are cheap. Your life is expensive. Keep your batteries changed out. The third answer would be mindset. Making sure your mindset and your training is squared away. A dude with a stock Glock 19 will outperform a dude with a Staccato C2 if the dude with a stock Glock 19 has superior training and mindset, okay? All right, that was a lot of questions. If you guys want a part 2, let me know in the comments. Say, we want a part 2 trench. Post part 2, question request is whatever, and I will consider doing a part 2. Thank you for submitting questions. Try to keep this short, concise, and to the point, and hopefully I answered some questions that you had to ask, and now it's time to get into leg day. So thank you so much for hanging out, guys. Hit the like button if you got this far. Do all the YouTube things, and until next time, this is going to be Trench Grenade, your average 2025 question and answer video enjoyer that your mom says that we have at home, signing out. Cheers.